Hey, hey, hey. We are here for another episode of Mic Chat. Tonight's episode is called Voices of Impact. So we have some fabulous women here, Laheelah Hunter and Linda Orji. And I'm just so happy to have them as part of the show. I'm Dion Hunter, your host, the founder of A Night of Artistic Renewal, which will be having a film premiere on November the 9th. We hope to see you all there. Just visit www.anightofArtisticRenewal and check out our website and pick up your tickets. Champagne appetizer, film premiere, and then a Q&A with these fabulous women. One of these young ladies I've known for about, let's say, a whole bunch of years. She is my sister, Laheelah Hunter. Okay, she is not only my sister, she is a dynamic, professional, and loving woman who has seen and done so much in life. She has done everything from runway model to print model to radio host to working with a Fortune 500 company, and then working for the union, and then volunteering. Just a very dynamic woman. So, and again, that's Laheelah Hunter. So I'm gonna bring her up on stage, and then we'll bring on our next guest. Laheelah, how are you?
Fantastic. How are you, sister?
I'm pretty good. How is your day going so far?
It's been a rush day, but it's been pretty good. Got a little chiropractic adjustment, so I'm feeling better than I have.
So next, let me bring up our next phenomenal guest. This woman I've known for a little bit less years, but still several. I saw some of her work. She had something to say. It means a lot because a lot of people talk and don't have nothing to say. But this young lady has a purpose, and her words have power. Thus the title of this show. Her family is originally from Nigeria. She has written, ghostwritten plays, books. She's authored her own books, a book series. She was a finalist during the Gantt Center's Spoken Dreams show, has performed with us for the past 4 years during A Night of Artistic Renewal, and she has blown the audiences away during each and every performance. Let me bring to the stage the phenomenal, the extraordinary Linda Orji.
Wow. It's like you grind and you don't realize how much you do until someone actually starts speaking and listening out.
You're like, is that me? She talking about me? Yes, we're talking about you, honey.
So I'm excited to be here. I'm so excited to be on this show. I'm so happy for you and everything that you're doing. So
thank you. I went and dug in the archives. Let's see what we can do here.
A journal. You titled it Millionaire in the Making. You wrote yourself a visionary check that you will hope to one day cash in. You jotted down all your ideas and started shaking and baking. Check it. Not going back into the office, period. Linda, you were serious. You see, a few seconds left in the final quarter, the job came at you on a fast break. During the COVID outbreak, they tried to hit you with the crossover. You're back, game over, owned your own time, broke down all your services, mark them with a $sign and a contract. Direct deposit requested, no in-person contact. You read books by Mark Batterson, Miles Monroe, and 50 Cent. You took risk after risk while people was getting on you diss after diss. Yeah, your phone was hella cracked. Yeah, sometimes the screen would go black and you had to turn it off and on just to get the power back. It took payments though. PayPal, Zelle, Cash App, and Venmo.
That clip is going to tie into both of you all. So, you know, folks may not understand the concept, but you were up on stage. Tell us a little bit about the concept of what you were doing with the mirrors and, you know, that performance during A Night of Artistic Renewal, History in Living Color, Linda.
Yes. So basically, sometimes we, like you were mentioning the whole list of things that I've done, and sometimes we get so caught up in doing, and feeling like we're not doing enough or that we haven't done enough. And there was a certain time in my life where I did feel that way. And so what I did was I wanted to remind myself of all the things that I have done and I have achieved, and just lift my spirits up, and anyone else who may have felt like that at any point. And then I initially wrote it on paper, but then I thought about it, meditated on it, and decided to do it on a mirror. So I wrote the poem on a mirror simply because in order to read those words, I would have to see my reflection through those words. And a lot of times too, people write affirmations and things on mirrors too. So that was the other meaning behind that as well. And I just wanted to look at myself while I'm talking to myself and just remind myself of all the things that I've done and the things that I've made it through and survived, and inspire others to just keep their spirits up as well.
Yes. And we could tell from the crowd reaction that they were, you know, feeling they were picking up what you were putting down. Okay. Now, Laheelah, can you relate to what she's saying about, you know, not realizing the importance of what, you know, we do on a daily basis, or how important our actions actually are to the world?
I yes. The short answer.
Because you've done so much. And I think, you know, because I personally know you, I don't believe that you give yourself the credit a lot of times that you deserve.
Well, I mean, to answer your question a little bit longer, than yes, I get it. And, you know, I feel like, let's first of all go back and talk about Lyndon, how great and powerful her words are. I mean, just sitting next to her and talking to her, she's a powerful force. But when she hits the stage, multiplied by so much. Like I could like, she's just really powerful. So one would think that she, you know, how we all kind of put, like, I wouldn't say like she's missing a beat, right? So to your point about me and my accomplishments and maybe even selling myself short a little bit, I think that we're our own biggest critics, right? So I can look at Linda and say, wow, she's powerful. She's great. She got it going on. Look at that outfit she got on. She rocking that hat. She stay rocking that hat. Yeah. You know, I'm looking at my sister, like, look at her. Like, she's wrote a book. She's done this. She's, you know, put on, wait, which one was it? Was it 3rd or 4th annual, you know, to this day, people still talk about, I'm, you know, throw something in there, a night of artistic seduction that you had. Like, my friends and coworkers, we still talk about that. And that was so many years ago. You know, that she's rocking her multicolored hair, you know, all these things. So, you know, raising a family. So we can always see what the next person is doing. And we don't know shadows or what the things are hidden, you know, but I think we're our biggest critics is because we see the shadows ourselves. We see, you know, where we maybe failed when we mostly see other people triumphs. So I think that's what it is. And I mean, it's good to have a support system, somebody that can root you on and say you're doing great. It's also great to have a sister who, you know, will do something in the last minute for you, you know, help you out. It's good that she has some friends that I make my friends that are powerful and inspirational, like Linda and others. So, I mean, I think we're all just trying to do our best in this world. And, you know, as long as we don't pay attention to a lot of the social media that's only showing the bright side of things, and that we actually have real conversations about what's going on in our lives, we'll see that the next person probably struggled, and hopefully they can bring us along to help.
About some of the, I know that you just came back from Africa, and that's something that both of you all have in common. You just came back from it, and pronounce the name for me correctly.
So we say Tanzania over here, but I got corrected several times over there by some of the locals, and this Tanzania is how they pronounce it over there. So to each his own, but I'll take what they told me as it go.
Right. Well, I think they would know the best, right? As they're living there.
It's hard to like not say what you're used to though, because sometimes I slip up and say Tanzania, but it's okay. I'm sure they don't mind.
So I would think that would be like a life change. Of course, your family is from Nigeria, so I would assume that you travel back and forth. But was taking this particular trip a defining moment for you?
So one thing too that I must say is because the continent of Africa is so huge, every country is different. And a lot of people say, oh, you've been to Africa before, but each country has its own experience. And so I'm from Nigeria, as you said, have been there several times, but I've never experienced the safari on this level that I experienced it now. I've also studied abroad in Kenya when I was back in college. We went to the safari, but I didn't sleep over, in a tent and wasn't surrounded by lions and hyenas and stuff. So the other thing that makes this experience really unique is that I went with my sister. And you guys, I'm sure, are familiar, what it's like to make memories with your sister and travel and just experience different countries and stuff. So yeah, it was a beautiful, little scary, wonderful experience.
And we were recently at an event where you wrote some poetry dealing with your adventure.
Yes. Yes. The Sip Poetry and Laughter, event. I just talked about what it was like to come back, because one of the things that I realized is sometimes we don't appreciate certain things when we're here because we're so much on the go. And we have these goals and everything. And to see these people just be happy with their cows and, it was just like, a breath of fresh air. And one of the things that they taught us there when we were in Tanzania is pole pole, which means slowly, like just calm down, relax. Everything's going to happen, So the guide that was showing us around, we were like, well, what's this? Or what's that? And he was like, there's a saying we have here and it's called pole pole. And it just means to just relax, enjoy the moment, and that's what I brought back with me is just everything's going to happen the way it needs to happen. Just breathe, be present in the moment and just enjoy life.
Yes. So Laheelah, you went to a part of Africa as well. Now, Linda has gone, like she said, 7 times. Plus, this makes 8, correct? Or
to what, the continent?
Yes.
So about that, about that. Probably a little less, but about that.
Okay. So Laheelah, I know you had your first visit. How was that? I know that was a defining moment in your life. So tell us, what struck you about your visit, to the continent of Africa?
Well, I went to South Africa, so Cape Town. So, not a lot of people, especially are like gung ho for South Africa. I went there, it was more of a celebration for one of my dear friends' 50th birthday celebration. So Cape Town, actually, where we stayed, it was kind of like a strip, like you're in Miami, actually. So it wasn't a ton of cultural things right there on the strip. So it was just resorts and the beach and what have you. But we did go to Robben Island, where Nelson Mandela was imprisoned. And so that was very powerful. And you know me, if anybody knows me anyways, I inquire all the time. So even with our guide, he might he might say something, and I need one, like, you got to give me more details. So that was, it was just, I don't want to keep saying powerful, but it's, I know I have friends too who had, traveled several countries in Africa. My friends actually, for their birthday, had went to many different countries, and say they had a little bit of a different experience, whether it was going to Ghana or what have you. So culturally, it was, great to see a aspect of Africa, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of I would say a nice introduction, because like Linda said, there are things that I want to do to help, other countries and have different experiences, but I don't know that I necessarily wanted to be in a tent or in the bush or what have you for my first visit. But, I would back, I did do a little paragliding. So, so mine was, I don't know how, intense Linda's was. Mine was kind of a relax, chill mode, saw a few historical things, but, it was still like, I can now say, like, okay, I went to South Africa. Okay, when's my next trip? Am I going to go to Ghana? Am I going to go to Zimbabwe? Where am I going to go next? And just really focus on just more culture, and even just like real estate there. Like, do I want a home, somewhere there, just to relax and be with the people.
Let's expand on that a little bit. So you brought up some good points. You said even though and on the strip and like Miami, but those are important things, I believe, because a lot of times the media tries to portray all parts of Africa as
National Geographic.
Exactly. So to say that there's, resorts and, we're paragliding and we're hanging out and we're having a good time, that is important for people to know.
Okay.
Also, how was it with meeting your African brothers and sisters,
Well, first of all, they're the best. Oh, but I don't know if everybody's nice, because, our dollar literally is like 7 to 1, So working in some of the industries, the restaurants or what have you, it just really does pay to be kind. But everybody was so kind. The food was great. Like, I definitely could have stayed there longer. And to your point, that is true, that people do, because if people aren't educating themselves and going beyond what they see on television or in the documentary or what have you, then, you do have those fears of, oh my gosh, Africa, I don't want to go there. Let me go to, France or something. And there's just beauty within, and like I said, just even having friends that are buying real estate in Ghana and things like that. So yeah, we did the club. But ultimately, I mean, I just felt very comfortable. There wasn't anything that I was afraid of. They have people that ask for money, just like we have people that ask for money on the streets, you know, but just seeing the colors, the vibrant. The last thing, you know, I showed you the dress that I had tailored there. Some of my friends, we got tailored dresses and outfits, and just to be able to go into a shop and get measured and have a dress made for you the next day and get your alterations the same day and just come back without. I wore the dress to the Night of Artistic Renewal last year, and it was just very beautiful. And just to have a piece that was custom for me, that's it's nice.
Yes, yes, yes. So, and this speaks on all of this speaks on the fact that we as a people need to travel more.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, a lot of times we go on the vacation spots, you know, the and this is good, you know, not saying that is not, and we should do those things like the Mexico or the, you know, Jamaica or whatever the case may be. But we do want to take that longer trip, and I am a crybaby when it comes to flying long distances, and I haven't had a chance to get over, but that is on my list of things to do, like next year, is to make that trip, because we do want to get over there and see, you know, what it is to be in our homeland, you know.
I think it would have been a great trip, like Linda said, with her sister. Different dynamics or what have you, but I think, you know, you and I would have done more of the historical approach and, you know, kind of mapped out some things a little bit differently, but still had a good time, you know, in the midst of a few, you know, tiffs.
Right. So, Linda, so spoken word poetry. Okay. Tell me, when did you realize that poetry was your power, was your superpower?
Well, I've always, from like very young, I would say starting like 10, I used to have journals and I would always just write. I would be very descriptive in my journals to the point where I would get in trouble for what I wrote if it was found by my parents. But I've always written. And I would say, honestly, I would say I'm more of a writer than a spoken word artist. And the reason why I speak is just because I can. And I challenge myself when I feel like I'm weak in certain areas. I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna throw myself out here and go to the club and speak what I wrote, you know. So yeah, so a lot of things that I speak about is just stuff that I've been holding in for a long time, or maybe have wrote it in a journal and never told anyone. And then, you know, I pray and meditate on it, and then I wind up just sharing it. So, and I would say most of the time I try and do that the most is when I'm performing with you at a Night of Artistic Renewal, because of the audience and just what you have set up for us. I've gotten more comfortable with sharing my truth and just different things that I've been challenged with over the years.
You've also done, in addition to your writing or your spoken word performances, I stated that you've ghostwritten plays. You also have your own, and books. You also have your own books where you crack concrete, I believe. So tell me,
Yes.
when did you transition? Or so you made journals when you were a child, and then how did that transition into did your authorship come first, or did you start ghostwriting first? How did that happen?
Okay. So my authorship came first, and it came first because I was in a relationship where it was very verbally abusive, and a lot of things I was being told that I couldn't do or wasn't worthy enough of doing and whatnot. So again, that was just my way of speaking out all the things that I couldn't say, like when I was in the relationship. And then when I did decide to go to a club and speak some of the stuff I had written in the book, is when you can actually say, okay, that's when my spoken word artist career started. So then from that point forward, it's just like, oh, well, if this touches people connect with this, let me just continue to do this type thing.
Yeah. So how did you get into the actual ghostwriting?
So we all have been blessed with gifts, right? And I think when you take time to be still and connect with your higher power and God, you kind of get directed on where to go next. I didn't really have a plan as to like, okay, I'm going to do this next. It just kind of like fell in my lap, sort of say, like opportunities, or even just meeting you, right? You found me on, what was that? That site, so I kind of just let God lead me to where I got to go next.
And apparently he's been leading you well.
I guess the hustler in me also, like I said in that performance when I was up there that you just showed not too long ago, I really sat down and wrote a list of things that I enjoy and I'm good at. And then I asked myself, okay, how can I make money from this? And so I guess that's another way of how you can say, how did I start? Kind of like,
That I actually had a conversation with someone, a young lady, earlier this week, where we were talking about jobs and switching jobs and that type thing. And I was like, well, have you ever thought about writing down the things that you're passionate about and seeing if it's possible? You might not be able to start out making the most amount of money, but maybe you can do something as far as like becoming a receptionist at the broadcasting studio. I'm sorry,
right.
Broadcasting school, to get your foot in the door. Laheelah, I know that you, as a youth, were interested in writing as well. So we all kind of have that connection. And then also, as you've gone through your evolution as a career woman, you've moved into becoming a union steward and then serving as president of Women of AT&T Ohio, it's a volunteer organization within AT&T. Why do you think all of that is important? I kind of ran that all together. I know that was a lot in one space, but our writing is a connecting factor. Okay. And then do you feel like any of those experiences with your writing as a young child, and maybe not, motivated you to want to represent and protect people as an adult?
Not necessarily my writing, even though that was a passion of mine at a young age, and it's still something I do want to accomplish here one day. After, so I maybe put something in the paper and then let Linda put the commas and capitalization they're supposed to go for me. Ultimately, what has made me want to kind of speak out for other people is, number one, one of the first things that I did, I've always wanted to help young girls because, I know most of your viewers know that we were raised by a single dad for the majority of our lives with, a couple stepmoms here and there. I feel like he always chose his significant others wisely, and we only knew anybody that was significant in his life. So just the power that the strength and how I feel like we looked at Dad, I just couldn't imagine my life without him. I know you guys had Mom for a few years and I don't remember her, but I just value the presence of Dad being in our lives and the value that he's instilled in us, the morals he's instilled in us. And it's unfortunate that there are some of our siblings didn't have him as much as we did, for various reasons. But when it comes to young girls, I see some of them just going astray. And whether it's because they don't have their dad or their mom is, focused on their own lives. So that was me being a part of Stephanie House, now Stephanie House Jones volunteer group, Footprints for Girls. Then when it comes to being a steward, I just saw that there was a need for somebody to represent when our chief steward was out of the office. I felt like, as you can tell, I'm a talker. For anybody who doesn't know, I am. And so there's a lot of people that hold things in. And, I'm not saying things will get done, but at a minimum, we need to bring attention to things that get done. And so I don't want to be anywhere, whether it's work, play, whatever, going out where I'm uncomfortable, because we're at work 8 to 10 hours a day. When we're going out to dine, spending money, I always want goodness, to be around me. So if it's dinner, it's dinner. If it's the world, it's the world. So how can essentially I make the world a better place, whether I have to speak up for somebody who doesn't want to speak up? And then when it comes to women of AT&T, that has probably been the best thing that has happened for me at AT&T, because it's a group of wonderful women that I've encountered, powerful women, encouraging women. Anytime that I've doubted myself, whether it's on a call, like, again, I'm that person, like if we're having a webinar and whatever, I'm asking a question. And I do remember one time I didn't give myself the credit I needed in my role. And I had one of the members of the national board say, hey, you call me after this. Like, first of all, she was like, no, don't minimize this. And it wasn't that I was minimizing it myself, but essentially, without going into a big, long story, it was, just to have women like that really are rooting for you and lifting you up. And so we help the community, help people with their professional and personal goals. So we see it as, again, how can we make the world a better place through our volunteerism and support from our company? And so if you have some people around you that are rooting for you and want you to be successful as well, you can't fail. So I think that's ultimately, it's just about wanting to see everybody do great, essentially.
Yes, very, very important points. I believe that we have to surround ourselves with positive, uplifting people, number one. And then we also have to have that empowering spirit, number two, coming in. But I was listening to something on WFAE, which is our public radio station here, and they did a report where they said that women who, in general, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but women who hold their emotions in and don't speak their mind are 40 times more likely to pass away early. And it made me remember what I was speaking to a young lady who was saying that her mom passed away at like 50 or something, but she had dealt with a lot of trauma in her life that she never shared until late. And she ended up, having cancer, and, cancer is caused by lots of different things. But I believe one of them is due to stress and, it eating away inside of you. And so having people that we can talk to and relate to and support us is so, so very important. That kind of takes me to Linda's books, because you kind of lay them out in a way that it is, you tell a story, but it's also.
So let me just be, so the first book that I wrote is published. The other ones still have to be published, although they're written in the works, they still have to be published. And the first book I wrote was really just a mixture of poems, of journal entries, of just things, again, like I needed to just get out. Because as you said, we hold things in and don't share and let it out. So I just needed to get it out. And then when I did put it in the book, I'm like, well, let me challenge people who may read this to also ask the same questions that I ask myself. So throughout the book, there are questions, there are pages where I challenge the reader to just write certain things about themselves. I like to just the idea of critical thinking. I don't like to just write so people can read. I want to challenge them to think differently, because as we go forward in this world, and this our reality is that things are constantly evolving quickly, down to technology. And so I want creative writing to be the same way. And I think that a lot of people focus on math and technology, but we kind of brush writing to the side, especially creative writing, and the importance of critical thinking. So yeah, that's the gist of the answer to your question.
So when you shared your book, the feedback that you've received, what type of feedback have you gotten from folks who have worked through it, read it, worked through it?
I had the pleasure of doing a course, which is so interesting. Like, again, this is just how when you use the gifts God has given you, he puts you in places that you probably never, ever think you'll be. But anyway, I had the pleasure of teaching a course for a women's workshop based on a couple of poems that I wrote in the book. And I was even presented with the idea of evolving a program for young girls around the book, which was very interesting. So I had to like break the book down and figure out how I would put these certain topics into a program for young girls. So to know that my truth, led me here is like, wow.
So now, Laheelah, how does seeing Linda evolve over the course of A Night of Artistic Renewal, right? So how did you feel when you first heard her poetry? Of course, you said she's powerful, but okay, so we understand that, but let's say, without giving away too much, her last performance in what will be in our upcoming movie, A Night of Artistic Renewal, Representation Equals Power. How do you believe, or do you believe that spoken word, poetry, or arts just in general can change the lives of youth or adults in general?
Well, I want to first of all go back a little bit to when we were talking about people who hold in things, bottling them in, and they can die at young ages. I assume that I'll probably live to like 2,000 years old. It's because I don't hold much in.
You're too funny.
Up comes out. No. So to speak about, when you asked me about Linda, when we talk about the Night of Artistic Renewal, as a whole, it's great. I was so happy to be a part of it. Thank you for allowing me to do so. And there were a lot of great acts. But when you mentioned you want me to answer about Linda, I can that it wasn't like some you may have to say, well, what did that person do, or what did that? But it doesn't, like, what Linda did come up immediately. And the arts are very, I think I would just wish everybody could just know what they were missing out, because for Linda's piece, I'm sure it touched so many people in the crowd. It touched the viewers, because it speaks about something that if you haven't had an experience, somebody who's had the experience. And so I think, and so ultimately me saying all that is saying that I think it's a way to get people talking if it's not, you're going to talk about Linda, you're going to talk about, her being animated, you're going to talk about her words, and then you may share a story about yourself. You may share a story about your loved one. Somebody may be able to release some of this cancerous buildup. Linda shared a story, and was just like so, open about it, but at the same time holding your attention to the end to figure out when you're at the edge of your seat because you want to know more, and she gives it to you, but holds it out, just keeps your attention. So again, just you and I talking, I've always said, when you make friends, when you go to do different things, you will encounter people who have similar experiences. We are not the only one experiencing this life in the different things that are happening to us. So again, when you can talk about people, everybody's not going to understand your story, whether it's in poetry, a book, just being social. Everybody's not going to understand. Ultimately, all of that being said, we definitely need to figure out how to get more people to be a part of a night of artistic renewal, because there's some beautiful things that people don't even know they can be doing, whether it's, dancing, African dance, or, it's you're doing a great thing. And I hope you continue on so that we can just see it just really blow up and into your audio book about your life. And
Thank you. I appreciate that. So, Linda, how does it feel when you hear somebody talk about how great you are and what a difference you're making in lives?
I guess I'm not used to it. I'm a bit of an introvert, so it's great, of course. It's great to hear that your story impacted, others and them. And I'm just always thinking about how much more needs to be done. So although the spoken word that I did, I touched the people in the audience and stuff, my mind is still on those that need to hear it, because there's so many kids and so many individuals who are dealing with it and don't have any, or haven't told anyone, or haven't said anything, and it's just eating them up.
Absolutely 100% true. And that is one goal of A Night of Artistic Renewal, the event series, is to bring the arts into the lives of youth, because youth always, our pledge is that youth will always be able to attend the events at no cost. And then with the last year's performance, A Night of Artistic Renewal, History and Live in Color, it's on Amazon Prime and on Tubi and several other networks. So we actually bring it into their living rooms so that they can be a part of it. And now with this newest production is actually going to start off on a movie screen, and then we hope to expand it to, film festivals and, just everywhere. I really do believe that we have the ability to really continue to make a difference, because it's a fact that children who are exposed to the arts and have the opportunity to have their time divided in school, where they actually go into an arts class and then come back into their classroom work, are actually more energized and able to focus on their schoolwork once they get done with their artistic endeavors. So, but of course, arts are the first thing that they cut out the budget.
Right.
And so we got to do something, have to continue to do things to stop that.
I think your poetry also, talk about a lot of historical things as well. That puts it, kids know, like, hey, I'm going to not only make a spoken word about myself, but about history. And it can be cool, it can be hip, and it also brings people, it makes people want to do a little research when you throw little things in there. And so when you hear something and you may not know everything about it, but you're like, hey, let me check that out. Let me write that down and go Google it. I just, I do my best to support you, the greatness that you have in you.
Oh.
So, so hopefully you'll continue to help me as sister mama.
Okay. I will definitely try. That's my goal. So, what are some of the, you have any projects, upcoming projects? You said that you're looking to get something new published. Do you have anything else that you're working on? Or tell us about that, and then anything else that you have upcoming or goals that you want to see in 2025 come to fruition.
Absolutely. So recently I just decided to focus more on, because I'm as a serial entrepreneur, so I need to narrow some things down and just focus on my books and get this series done, because it has so much potential. And a lot of the poetry that I've spoken, actually, I pulled from, those books that are written already. So as I mentioned, the first book, a lot of people said it was deep, right? So because of the creative that I am, I said, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make myself a character. I'm going to be a professor in the next book, and I'm going to create students and students who are being taught by me the first book. And we're going to break it down together. And then the readers, who I hope, because my goal is for it to be in high schools and stuff like that, can relate to the students and the individuals. And even Linda Orji, the professor, has a story of her own. I've always wanted to be a professor. I've always wanted to teach college courses, but it's just not my reality. So I'm going to create it in my books. And so that's what this series is all about. It's about diving into these individuals as students, as they face their own realities at home, and this course that they're in is actually an experimental course. And Linda has to present this to the Board of Education to prove to them that these types of courses need to be taught in schools now. And that's my real goal. We read the same things over and over again every year. I mean, The Catcher in the Rye is a great book, but I mean, we need to start really changing the game. That's the whole concept of Crack Concrete series.
How did you come up with that name, Crack Concrete? What's the symbolism?
Okay, so I am originally from the Bronx, which is known as the concrete jungle. And then at the time when I did write everything, I felt broken. I just felt cracked. I kind of feel like this character has a little bit of Viola in her because of all the ways and things that she does with the challenges that she faces. I wrote down in my journal that I want her to play Professor Linda Orji.
Right.
Oh, okay. We gonna name it and claim it. World, I can see that.
Yes.
Okay. So now, Laheelah. So I hope you were thinking about your answer, because I hope you knew that yours was coming. This was coming to you, right? So now, first, I want to start off by saying that all of us are, we've gone through our trials and tribulations, and we've come out on top, and we are successful women. A lot of times people don't see, and we talked about this earlier, the struggles and the strife that happen to get you to the point, you, in your case, Laheelah, the successful businesswoman who's able to travel the world and, do the things that she wants to do, and, pour into people with positivity, all those types of things. So tell me, when you were 20, 23, 20, just a young buck, with the milk's rolling down your ear or whatever, did you know that you had power within you?
Yes.
Ooh, okay. That's what I'm talking about. Everybody doesn't. So how did you manifest that power into the woman that you are now?
Well, honestly, did I know that I had the power in me? I probably knew I had some kind of power. I don't know that I knew for sure what kind of power it was, or how to even wrangle it. I just sometimes it's just flying by the seat of my pants, honestly.
Do
So
you feel, I don't mean to interrupt you. Do you feel like it's having an adventurous spirit is part of it?
well, okay, that's a good answer. Yes. So, I mean, I'm definitely adventurous. So I know that for me, I knew I wanted, living in the house with a strict father, I felt like, hey, I'm gonna do what he says do. He's my dad, and you honor your parents and you listen to what they say and you do good because they hopefully want you to do well. And that's what I felt like from him. But because we know he was strict, I just kind of felt like, okay, when, one of the things he told me, he said, when you get grown, get your education, you can do what you want to do and you don't have to answer anybody. And that's ultimately what I did. When I left home, I went to college. I had to take a break from college because I was doing too much. Not enough studying, let's say that. But ultimately, some of the dreams I had did go by the wayside. But as one of my good friends told me, Matthew Gardner, is like, we could be living to 120 now, because people were dying back in the day at our age. So, never count yourself out for some of the goals that you want, because just because you're your age now, you could, eat healthy, work out, it's limitless, really. So I still have some things to do, but ultimately I definitely have adventurous spirit. Who jumps off a mountain in Cape Town, Africa, and float down to the green grass and walk up the hill to have a delicious seafood meal and watch the sunset. And so that's kind of been my thing. So back to what I was saying about growing, how we grew up, I just knew that once I left the house and just the things that Dad said to me, I wanted to get my degree. I wanted to be independent. I wanted to travel the world. And, he always encouraged me anytime. He's like, oh, where are you going now? And so, but the thing that I didn't do was, start a family. And so that was one of the things that kind of weighed on me. I just felt like it was going to happen. I wasn't absolutely like, hey, I need 3-4 kids. And, and I wanted kids to experience Dad, because I felt like he, who wouldn't want him in your life, and even, I don't think I ever shared this with you, but I said, will you be okay with not having grandchildren from me? And I won't say what his answer was, but ultimately it was yes. I mean, it's kind of funny, but it's kind of, if you know his sense of humor or the way he speaks, some people, anyways, I'll tell you later. But I just remember, like, maybe a month or so later, I was like, well, I'm going to whatever place or wherever I was going. And he was like, see, if you had kids, you couldn't do that. And I was like, well, Dad, I've been traveling since I was 24. So, how long is that going to be for? But ultimately, seeing those creative stories, the books and things, watching television, those are the things, along with what Dad said, those are the things that pushed me or encouraged me to be adventurous, to go and not be afraid to travel. Even at this point, I'm like, I may travel by myself so I can do my vacations the way I want to, not have to answer to anybody else or be on anybody else's timeline. So am I adventurous? Yes. So, and that's just, I'm like, I'm not afraid to fly. I'm always, I just think whatever is supposed to happen will happen. And even if we say we can manifest, because it's weird, I think it's going to happen, but also if we can manifest it. And I just roll with the punches. That's, if I could, I guess that's the best way to describe it. And so I don't mind jumping off of a mountain or jumping out of a plane, because I feel like if it's my time, it's my time. But they'll say she had a good time.
Right. So I was speaking to, and we're gonna be wrapping it up here pretty soon. Here, but what gives you the courage to speak about your, personal? I mean, because you bring up a lot of your inner personal life. What gives you that courage to be able to share those things?
So I guess it's a little bit of everything. Like, so I guess we could go back to how I talk about how writing needs to evolve, and the courses and all that stuff. We need to try and encourage young people to, or we need to educate them within the education system about these things, because we had health class, right? No one talked about this, and this is something that happens amongst a lot of women. So incorporating that into my work, which I feel like, which the goal is to eventually put into the education system and teach in the writing courses currently. Now, with these poems that I speak them specifically at your Night of Artistic Renewal. And just to give you a little background, before I even perform on stage with you at your events, I fast. So for this last performance, with everything that was going into this poem, all the emotions and everything that I was dealing with, it's more than just me speaking. It's a spiritual thing so when y'all see me speaking, it is more like I didn't eat for the past 7 days. Okay. And so I'm giving everything, in me, and being led by spirit only, because I had something else in mind. That was not the poem I was supposed to speak, and within those days of fasting, I end up, this is what you're going to do. And I'm like, okay, so like when you ask me, how do it's just a matter of being still, understanding or overstanding the assignment. Because when you give us that theme and you say, okay, representation equals power, or in living color, or whatever the case may be, I'm digging deep. I don't want to just be up there speaking. And I understand that this thing that you're doing is going to be continuous. Like, we're not just ending here. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to build. And if people compare my first performance or speaking at Night of Artistic Renewal, and then they look at it now, I am strictly working on the vision of where we're going, not where we're at, but where we're going. And so that is the motivation and the vision behind all the poems that I speak. And then those who have started with us from the beginning will then see by whatever time the whole story. from my first book to then my second book about me, being a professor and then teaching it, and I want to incorporate that into the performances. I mean, hopefully the next one I can get some youth up there performing with me and them being my students, and we can do some excerpts from volume 2, and then they can get a piece and actually see these poems that have been written in the books that they buy.
Okay, that's great. That's great. The next the 5th year anniversary, the theme is going to be the importance of mental health in our community. And we have a couple of comments here. Kiera says, Night of Artistic Renewal is always an amazing time. She says, get that passport, y'all. And build with the people. And she says, Linda brings it home every time. And then we have Leah on here. She says, it was awesome to spend this evening with you ladies. Thanks for your stories and insight. Love you all. Okay, so we got some good comments.
To Leah.
Yeah. So, okay.
Hey, again, Dion, is I see the work that you put into all of this, and encouraging us to be more active with Night of Artistic Renewal. But I mean, I saw you when you did support me in Dallas at the Women of AT&T, and how dedicated you are. It's like we're on trips and she's still working. She doesn't cut the TV, just there for hours. So it's inspiration to me. Hey, watching 12 episodes in a row, and get some work done. So I mean, I can tell that this is something you want to be great, just for the world, not just for a handful of people, in the passion that you have for it. So I appreciate all of your hard work, even if I'm not working as hard as you want me to. but it's you just keep trying and you keep pushing, and you will definitely the rewards of your work. And again, back to what you were saying about sharing, I like I said, I've told you all the time, like, get you friends, or even just talking to me that you can share things with. This is Dad has always told us to be private. I am the least private of all of us, and sometimes I think it's great, sometimes I think it's bad, because does everybody know everything about me? My coworkers, they probably like, lady, so when's your appointment again? We wrote it on our calendar.
Some of that I think has to do with with me being the oldest. Your dad used to always say I was the test tube baby, meaning that they tested all of their parenting ideas out on me. And then by the time they rolled down to the third child, they've gotten things worked out a little bit more. And by the time they got down, he had a total of 6. So by the time, he got down to the last one, I guess he believed that he had even a little bit more worked out.
I think I shared a story today, and it's like, that's because you think you have good intention behind saying something, doesn't mean you should say it the way you do. And I do believe that was me. Like, I'm trying to tell you great things, but you have to be mindful how you say things, and you are the epitome of that to me. Like, I think you could stop holding in some stuff, but when you do let it out, you are definitely my go-to to talk to. You had to do a lot growing up, and I guess what you do the best you can in the circumstances that you have. And when I look back on our lives while we were being carefree and frolicking, the responsibilities that you had, that you even possibly shouldn't have had, but you did it all with grace, and you still continue to have grace when people call on you and and they're not showing you the same kindness and generosity that you show to them.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Now, Linda, you're an older sister too, right?
Yep, I am the older sister. So when she say the mommy thing, I get it. I was the one waking up in the middle of the night sometimes, going to the crib, putting them back to sleep and all that. So I definitely get it.
And I'm sure all of your siblings are out of the world, because how could they have a sister like yourself and not be extraordinary? But I want to point out one in particular. Linda has a sister who went to the Olympics.
Katora Orji is the athlete that you know of who went to the Olympics 3 times. So she's a 3-time Olympian. She's actually just recently retired, which is hence the trip that we went on. It was such a beautiful thing to be able to travel with her, because she's been an athlete for the majority of her life. And so now that she's retired, we get to enjoy her just as, I've always seen her as my sister, but now I just get to share those moments with her. Like I can call and say, what you cooking tonight? Or, just different things that we never really got a chance to experience. There's so much more to her, which people have only really got a chance to see her as an athlete. And so I'm so happy now that she gets to share the other sides of her. And then my brother is a musician. He graduated from Juilliard. He plays the saxophone, bass saxophone. And then he's just traveling, doing his thing. And then the baby, Rachel, is a dancer, and she went to the University of Arts in Philadelphia. So she's graduated, and she's just trying to figure it out. But dancing is always going to be her thing. So.
Wow. So we could do a whole night of artistic renewal just with your family, right?
What? Actually, 2 days ago, I was thinking about trying to incorporate her into my next performance. So, but yeah, so she did come up to mind. Rachel came up to mind. Yeah, you could actually get all of us in there.
Right. So, all right, get to working on that. We can use the saxophone too. And well, ladies, we're gonna go ahead and get this closed up. I just want to thank you both for spending your evening with me. We talked about so many different subjects. Is there anything else that either one of that you wanted to speak on before we end our conversation?
Linda, let me give you a little bit more pub, because when Dion was having everybody pick their dates for their interviews, and she was like, well, I have these 2 dates left. And Linda, I'm like, Linda, I'm going to be with Linda. So, so just have your vibe and your smile and just be, bouncing, having this energy back and forth with us. It's always a pleasure. So
absolutely. You guys are dope, man. Nothing like them Hunter sisters, I tell you that.
And I don't know if I mentioned in your introduction, but you are a co-host of A Night of Artistic Renewal. Representation equals power. So I want to thank you for bestowing your personality onto our production. We also have African dance. We have ballroom dance, jazz saxophonist. We have award-winning spoken word artist. We have a songstress. We have a lyricist, rapper. We have
artist.
Yes, visual artist. And I even do a little something, just a multitude of artists that just bring energy and positivity to the stage. And I don't think anybody does it like us, if I may say so myself.
It was a good time.
Will you be co-hosting again for the next one?
I don't know. I guess it depends on the review. Sister, you not on this one.
You said what?
Like, I was like, you should have a co-host because you do too much. You're like, here, you're hosting, you're doing spoken word, you're, directing. You should have a co-host. She was like, she thought about it a little while and she came back. She's like, I'm gonna have some auditions. For co-host. I see your mouth open, Linda. Like she I was like, auditions. Very
Gotta keep you on your toes. Gotta keep you on your toes. Gotta get the people what they want, baby. Gotta get the people what they want.
I was like, not only did I present it, but all of this up on stage, fill in when she's, wardrobe change or guard hot water. I don't like. I was a little sad, and I will say that she wasn't. Why don't you become the co-host? But ultimately, I know it's just what you weren't. I get it. I'm giving a hard time, but I was definitely glad to be a part of it. And to your point, Linda, when we were even down there saying, I can appreciate you, speaking about my personality as being a co-host. So I would love to do it again. And I learned from that experience.
You did an excellent job.
You did.
I'm putting all the plans together. I want to get through this film premiere, and then I know for a fact that we're going to be doing mental health, the importance of mental health, and looking at what the casting is going to be for the next show all together, because there might be big changes, it might not be big changes. We want to keep it lively, entertaining, and keep people on their toes. All that being.
One last thing, I have a suggestion that you can add, even though you're still in the conceptual mode. We with Women of AT&T, we have something called War Rocks, and it brings awareness to suicide prevention. Where rocks have paint inspiring words, rocks, and seal them, and then put like the suicide hotline number on the back of them, and then after dried, we just kind of place them in the communities, for somebody who a bad, day or a horrible day, actually, if you're contemplating suicide, that maybe they can come upon this rock, and it is kind of like a divine intervention, so it's just hopefully to bring light. So maybe, that can be something as people are, coming in to check in or something, maybe have like a little War Rock space. And, it's a fun thing, even though people will be, quick little things, and then we place them in the neighborhood. So
That's an excellent idea. And it could even the night of the show, or it could be something that we do leading up to the show as a precursor.
Yeah.
But again, I want to thank you ladies for jumping on here with me and having this deep dive into the importance of women empowerment, the arts, being there for our children, such a multitude of things that we spoke about today. We want everyone to come out and see A Night of Artistic Renewal, Representation Equals Power, on November the 9th at the Independent Picture House. Doors open at 6:45. Our film starts at 7:30. Then afterwards, our fly tie from V101.9 will do a Q&A with the artists who are available at the show. And then we're going to finish off the champagne. Okay. So I want to thank Laheelah Hunter, who was a runway model, print model, who has been a union steward at AT&T, taking care of those workers, who's volunteered her time with a multitude of organizations, charitable organizations, who's been a radio host dealing with political issues, and who has also served as president of Women of AT&T Ohio. Thank you so much for coming out here and sharing your time with us and your thoughts. Linda, we want to just let you know how much we appreciate you. You have written your own book, Cracked Concrete, you ghostwritten books. I mean, helping people get their ideas out there in front of folks. You're an accomplished spoken word artist, award-winning spoken word artist, and you've also been a part of a Night of Artistic Renewal for the last 4 years. So I just want to thank you for all that you do for the community.
Thank you so much, Dion. Thank you for all you do. And I just want to say before we end, congratulations on your AMG Heritage Award. It was so awesome to see you like just be in anticipation, and then they call your name, and it's like I you know how you envision something and then you see it happening and you're like, wow, this is really happening. And to think, and I told her like this is just the beginning. To think that this is just the beginning is just like crazy, So just keep doing what you do, and I'm just gonna be right there with you.
I really appreciate that. It meant a lot to me. I'll end on the note of I really wish that our dad was, because I know he would have jumped on the plane and been there. And I know he was there. As you say, we're going to manifest that this is just the beginning.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you for coming to Mic Check. Thanks for hanging out with us, all of you all. Thank you for the comments. And we will see you when we see you on November the 9th. And then we'll continue on with Mic Check.